Hello, friends. I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. Today, I am looking at the second of my 10 by 5 solo challenge. If you don't know what that is, well, it's where I play these 10 games specifically. I choose 10 and play over the course of 4 months. Each of these games solo 5 times. So 10 games, 5 times each solo. Just to I play a lot of solo games. I don't always have time or people who are able to make it all the time, and I just want to get my hands on games I've spent money on and I enjoy. So it gives me to the table, and more importantly, it kind of lets me check out various games in a different way. Maybe some of these games I didn't even realize I could play solo or whatever the case is, but it gives me a chance to check out 10 games that may otherwise just sit on my shelf. It kind of forces me in some cases to play them again if they've not been touched in a while, or if they're new games, really check them out to see if I want to keep them and introduce them to others, or if they're solo only, just make sure I'm rotating through my solo only collection and not just sticking to my personal favorites. Whatever the case is, I played 10 games 5 times each, and I'll do it again hopefully in the next quarter, third of the year. I don't know what you call it, if it's a third of the year, but over the last part of the year. If you want to check out my original 10 games, go ahead and hit the eye up there, and I'll link it to the first one I did for January through April. Now we're looking at May, June, July, and August plays, and hopefully you like the collection and like my thoughts. I stole this idea from Allie at the Family Meeple, so kudos to her for bringing this about herself. She's done this, I think, for a couple of years, and I thought it was a great idea as a fellow solo player, and so I adapted it. So thanks, Allie, again. I mentioned that last time. I'll mention it probably every time for as long as I keep doing this. That said, let's go ahead and look at these 10 games in the order I like them as a solo game. And I want to say that before we get into it, before people come in at me with pitchforks. I'm looking at these and ranking these. These will be, my least favorite to most favorite as solo games, not as games in general, as how I enjoyed them as a solo player, playing these by myself. Because some of these I definitely will think differently of not solo. All right, all that out of the way, let's get to number 10. So my least favorite of these 10 that I played in this past 4 months is going to be SpaceShipped right here. SpaceShipped is a tableau game where you're just trying to get a couple crystals out of space and into your cargo hold so you can deliver them before the enemy opponent ship gets 4 of them. There's a lot of just random bad luck. I won this game once out of the 5 plays because I was able to not lose immediately. I had 2 games where by the second turn, my shields were blown and I had no money to fix it. Game over. Whereas the game I won, I had the time to kind of build up resources, because that's really what you're doing, is you're kind of playing the market of cards that are out while dealing with the bad things that are going to go on from round to round. And the cards are going to cycle across the tableau until you either win because you've achieved the objective, buying 2 crystals that cost 20 million credits or whatever it is each, before 4 of them just cycle through the cycle, because once the 4th one cycles through, you lose. There are some expansion modules I never got into them because in the end I like the other 9 games quite a bit, and I'll return to them probably pretty often regardless. This one I didn't feel it, and maybe the modules make it better, so I'll probably check out the modules. I have them, see if they do change it up for me. But like I said, the one game I won, it took a long time, and I was able to manipulate. I had 2 games, like I said, where I flipped over the bad cards, and it was like, you lose 2 shields, you start with 3, and you lose. And I think the next one was like, you lose 2 million credits, and you start with 2, I think. So like turn 1, I'm down to 1 shield and no credits. And I'm supposed to manipulate the market with that. not going to happen. 30-second game, basically. The game is really, really dependent on how the shuffle works out. And that's unfortunate because I think it does have some things to offer. But way too much chance for the little bit of manipulation if the chance doesn't hurt you. So SpaceShipped, easily my least favorite of the 10 games. Number 5, and this could be controversial. This may be the need for my caveats of this is solo play only, and I really enjoy the game, but as a solo game, it's okay. It's okay. The game, and I'll say it's Vinhos. I love the gameplay. It plays well solo. It plays, I think, the same for the most part solo, except you're playing against Lacerda, the designer, and he cheats. It says it right there in the rules. He will cheat. He can do whatever he wants, and he's just going to make it harder and harder and harder for you. You're using an action selection deck, and you're working your way through doing Vinhos. You're playing Vinhos, and he's cheating at playing Vinhos. And it's fun. I enjoyed the game. I had fun all 5 plays. It's a challenge, and, it's good. What puts this at number 9 is not how it plays, it's how it scores. Because at the end of all the playing, you're not racing him to points necessarily. You're racing him to like 6 or 7 different objectives, and depending on how well you meet these objectives, that's how well you do. So you could beat him at points, and that's worth 1 objective point. And so the game says, you were not good, but you outscored him. You won the game by game standards. But when you go to the solo how did you do chart, it says, well, did you do these 8 other things? No? Oh, well, you didn't win. Or, well, I guess you won, but you only won with 1 happy smile face instead of the 15 you could have got. So I don't like that aspect of the solo game. I like how it plays. I like the cards that you use. I like the race to score, because I only scored more than Lacerda 1 time. So that wasn't easy. I'm not saying like I could do that, but trying to chase all the objectives to do well in the solo like scoring, it's almost impossible, and it took a lot of the fun away. So when I play this game, I'm just going to play it to play. I'm not going to worry about the solo objectives. I worry about the score a little bit because it feels good to outscore the AI, but it doesn't feel good to do that and then be told, nice try. So, yep, that's the only reason it's number 10 is it's a fun game. It's an enjoyable game. The solo mode is good. It works. It does the job. I just don't like that it's not just race to have the most points over an AI, because that's hard. Like, that could have been it. Maybe with a tweak here and there, because like you can kind of manipulate yourself, so I can see why the other objectives exist. Because if I wanted to focus points, I could focus points probably, but I don't know. It's just, it's fun. It's a fun game. It's a good game. I just don't like the way that it says you win or lose as a solo player, and that's why it's number 9. Number 8, another game that I tried with other people, and that people being my family, so it was rough. It was a rough go. My kids, my wife, not super strategic gamers, or not even gamers really. Family game day with Disney's Villainous did not go well, and we pretty much put it away for a while. And then when Allie, again, plug in Allie, Family Meeple, she did this, I think the first iteration of this, or maybe it was the last iteration of last year, talking about how, it's one of her favorites, and it's one of her favorites to solo. I did not know there was a solo mode. There isn't in the game. You have to go to Board Game Geek and find it. And I found one, and it wasn't even the one she plays. And so the one I found, I played with for my first game, and I was just like, okay, I don't even remember it at this point, but it wasn't the one she was talking about. So I poked her and said, hey, do I have the right one? Because this wasn't that great either. And she sent me one, and I'll try to link it below or somewhere, that is good. It's like playing against an opponent. It is a lot of randomness, and that's one of the drawbacks against it. But basically, you're moving around. You're trying to race them around the car. Like, you've got so many turns. I'm not speaking good. But they've got a turn tracker chart. You're going to roll the dice, and that's how far they're going to move. And if they get to the end of the board, you lose. So you're racing to win before you lose. And along the way, they're going to be playing fates on you, which hinder your progress. But I like the game. It got fun. It made the game fun. The solo mode lets me play the game by myself and learn the characters. Do I love it? Not really. It's fun. It lets me play the game. That's why it's at 8th spot. I enjoy it. It gives me a chance to play Disney's Villainous when otherwise I wouldn't have. But again, it's got a lot of randomness, and I had a couple games where I literally got faded to death before I ever had a chance to try to meet my goal. And it comes down to, with the solo and the game in general, like sometimes you just have bad shuffle luck. With one of the, I forget which character it was, but I think it was the Queen of Hearts. I needed a specific card that was the last card in my deck. So basically, whether I was playing solo or with other people, I probably wasn't going to get to that card for a very long time and be well behind the curve, whether or not everybody was picking on me or not. In the case, the AI is only going to pick on you, so it just made it worse. The longer the game went on, the more I had no chance at all. So yeah, I don't like that. The dice randomness with the solo mode, it's okay. It's mitigatable with actions a little bit, but again, you can get piled on if you have a lot of bad luck. So that's why it hangs out the 8. I enjoyed being able to play a game that is fun, but I think I still rather would play it with people who know how to play it and do it that way than the solo. But at least the solo mode gave me the opportunity to check it out when otherwise it was probably just going to go away. And now it's got a chance to stay. So that's Disney's Villainous, my number 8. My number 7 favorite game from my 10x5 solo challenge is going to be After Us. This is a new game. I think it's the newest on my list here. Yep, I believe so. After Us is a game that just came out this year, and it's an engine building game, and you're racing to get 80 points using fruit, plants, and whatever the other resource is. And you can use helper cards. And this game gets a lot of flack for having a pasted on solo mode, and it probably was. It was probably added way late just to appease solo players. I don't know how much it was play tested. It's rough. If plenty of reviewers have remarked at how rough it is, how unbeatable it is. That's not true. I did beat it once. So it's not unbeatable. Other content creators who have said it's impossible, it is not. I did it once, but it was still tight. Yeah, it does have a runaway AI leader problem potentially, just because they can collect points a lot faster than you might be able to by building your engine. But the way to get around that is to try to build the engine that takes away their ability. If you can keep them from getting the big 6-point apes out, just by taking, watching what resources they have and making sure you're collecting those resources as much as you can over some of the other resources that you might actually want if you're playing for real. That's the way to do it. You just kind of slow down their pace. That's my cheat code, I guess. And from the one game I won, I was able to just slow their pace. They weren't scoring the 6-point apes, and then I was able to just outscore them just in time. But that's fun. It's a fun game. I enjoy the game. I said this before this year. I've enjoyed the theme. This was one of my anticipated games of the year, and I enjoy it. The people I've played it with enjoy it. It's a fun game. The solo mode is rough. It is probably tacked on in the 23rd hour of the game being created. It could use some tweaks. Maybe they exist already. I haven't looked a lot. I've thought about ways I might try to tweak a little bit, but again, like I said, I won once, so it's not like it's fully impossible. But there were a couple times where I think they scored 80 when I had 30, so it can be rough. It can really have a runaway leader problem, and that's why it sits here at the 7 slot, because I enjoy the game. The solo mode could use some work. My number 6 game is going to be Lacrimosa from Devere Games. I really like this solo mode. It's got a good flexibility in challenge, in that you can shuffle in and out various cards to increase or decrease the challenge level as well as the setup. But otherwise, the game plays the same as a multiplayer game where you're both going through and pulling out your action card for what you're going to take, and then your secondary card, which is going to be the resources you gain or points you gain or whatever you gain at the end of the round. You're going to do the 5, I think, different actions 4 times in a round and then play through 5 rounds. And basically, your opponent here is going to be playing to kind of thwart you, take things out of the way, take cards before you do, and collect points along the way. It's a pretty simple but in-depth solo AI opponent, and so I really like playing this one. It feels like a multiplayer game just as much so as a solo game. You can do things to try to kind of manipulate what your opponent is going to do in this one, where you're not going to be able to do that in the real game other than taking what they want or doing it before them. And you, again, like most solo games, you're not going to be able to predict their actions. It's going to be randomness for the most part. Later in the round, you can obviously kind of see what cards they probably still have in their deck versus what they've already used, but that's about it. There's no seeing like, oh, they're out of money, so they're probably not going to do this, or oh, clearly, they're working towards, moving around town, so I probably want to play my move action before them. Whatever the case is that you could do in a multiplayer game, you're not going to be able to plan that out as much in this game. But that said, I have really enjoyed playing against the area controlness versus the movement versus the card collection and making your actions bigger. It's a tight game with resources and funds and actions. And those are the type of games I like. And this solo mode doesn't feel like it's different than the main game. It's just as challenging, but it is beatable. So it's got the right blend of challenge and feel of the game. So I just enjoy the game Lacrimosa, and the solo mode fits right into what the game is, and that's why it's here right in the middle of this month. Number 5 is Ares Expedition, the Terraforming Mars card game, specifically the Crisis expansion, the new cooperative expansion of the Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition deck game. I really enjoy this. It's another managing your engine. You're building out your tableau that's going to make you stronger and stronger as the game goes on, give you more and more opportunities to thwart the crisis, as opposed to the base game where you're building up Mars from scratch and trying to get the oxygen levels, the water levels, and the temperature levels good enough for habitation. In this game, you've got all those levels, but various crises are coming along and tearing those things down, and you're just trying to go through the rounds, keeping them as good as you can and habitable. It's a rough game. At least the solo version, it's cooperative, 1 to 5, but I've only played the solo version, and it's rough. You really gotta manage your resources and the timing of when you're going to use some of your special abilities, because points don't count as points. You can use points to fend off crises as needed, and assist you in that way. Because the points don't matter, it's a cooperative game. So I like the balance of stuff. The one thing that it bothers me in every play of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition, I don't know about Terraforming Mars. I don't remember that much. I want to play that one a couple times. But specifically in Ares Expedition game, it's really hard to generate plants. I don't know if there's just not as many cards in the deck, but every game I've played, I've always struggled to generate plants. And that's, one of the key ways you're going to keep the action level up. And no matter what I do with everything else in the game, if I can't generate plants, I'm going to lose the game because I can't keep the action levels up. And that's been a problem in basically every game I've had of this. So I haven't won yet. But I like the game. I like the format. I like how it plays. The solo game plays the same as 2 players, 3 players, 4 players. It is very well balanced. You got a special crisis deck for each player count. So they really put a lot of thought into making this work at every player count and keeping it balanced that way. I really like that. I like the game itself. You know, I like card tableau builders, multi-use cards, etc., etc. I've mentioned this, I think, before in this video even. So the game is fun. The crisis mode was a nice addition. I really like that better than the base solo game before I got the crisis expansion. So I've enjoyed playing that, and that falls in right at number 5. And all these games, I'm going to say this, except for SpaceShipped, every one of these games was fun, and I had a hard time ranking these games compared to last month. So that's where I stand. They're all great games. I enjoyed playing all of them solo. Number 4 is going to be Baseball Highlights 2045. It's another deck builder type game where you're basically sending players to bat. I think 6 of them in each game, and you're playing best of 7 series, kind of a World Series. And at the end of each game, or at least the first few, depending on the level of how hard you want it to be, you can go and purchase more players to add to your deck and replace some of the starting players. So you get stronger as you go. I don't think I'm ever going to win the first game of a series against the AI opponent, because they start off with all players you have to purchase, you know, from the purchase deck. And you start off with a starting deck, and then you gotta purchase as you can after each game, like I mentioned. So it's just a fun little baseball-esque feeling game. I started in the hobby and tabletop sports gaming, and I've been interested in this game since I heard about it. And I believe what's his name, Mike Fitzgerald, is also in the same community that this tabletop sports gaming community that I've been in since I first got into it. So the game interested me, and it is a lot of fun. It's pretty tough, especially if you minimize the number of rounds you're allowed to go purchase new players. I think I am 1-4 in my 5 plays, but it's an enjoyable time. It plays quick and easy, and you're just playing players out and trying to defend what your opponent is planning on doing, and then getting your offense out to try to score more runs, in the course of the 5 or 6 player plays. Good game. I enjoy it. Number 4. Number 3 is Welcome to the Moon. This is a flip and write game, and it's a campaign game. So, you can play through, there's 8 different boards, and each one of those is going to be a part of the campaign, basically, as you leave Earth and go look into space for a new place to settle. And you're building up the moon as a new habit. And so another similar theme to Mars, building it up. Welcome to the Moon. But the campaign game, a lot of fun playing through from game to game, and how you do will kind of dictate the story. It's kind of a choose your own adventure at parts, and I've really enjoyed digging into this one more. It plays 1 to 6. I have not played it with anybody else, but the solo mode is just really, really good, really fun, and it plays exactly the same no matter player count. You're flipping over 3 cards, choosing one for the number. You got to follow the rules for numbers on each board, and then along with one, the number you pick, one of the other 2 cards is going to give you an icon that you're going to use to boost the various things you're using to settle or move through space, or whatever the case is. And in the AI game, the card you don't pick is just going to go into a stack for the AI opponent, and they have varied, depending on what level of AI it is, they're going to be worth points, and which board you're playing on. And all you're doing is, at the end of the game, you're counting up each of their stacks and multiplying by how many points that type of card is worth, and that's their score. And your score is based off of the turn or the level of the game, and it's not hard to calculate. It's fun. It's a bit challenging, but thinky. You're not specifically playing against the AI, like I said. You're just kind of distributing them points, and there are actions that they're going to get in the way a little bit, and you can mitigate a little bit, but for the most part you're just playing a single player game with an opponent who's going to collect points based on your choices. It's just a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. I probably didn't speak good of it there, but it really is a fun game, and I've enjoyed playing it. Welcome to the Moon. My number 2 favorite solo game that I played in these past 4 months for my 10x5 challenge is going to be Wayfarers of the South Tigris. Yes, I got that right. From Garfield Games. It's the solo mode of this game is it's pretty brilliant. There's a lot going on in this game because you're using your dice worker placement, basically icons to dictate what they can do. You're building up a tableau of cards, which are going to give you rewards and resources as you play. You got workers you're going to place out into various places on the cards. You're going to move across a track, which basically dictates the speed of the game. There's just a wealth of things going on. This game by itself is just a brilliant Euro game, a point salad-esque game. Various choices, lots of tight, thinky pieces, like most of the Garfield games, and it's really enjoyable. But somehow they wrapped up all those thinking points into a 6-card AI deck. Maybe it's 8, but I think it's 6. And all they're going to do, and there's 4 AI boards. They all have a similar or a different play style or different thing that AI is going to focus on. So you got a variety there, but they're using the same 6-card deck. And basically you're just looking at the cards, and that dictates if they're going to take a card, block a card, or gather, whatever resource. It keeps the game moving, and it's easy. It's so easy to use. You flip a card, move the tracker on the board, which kind of dictates, the priority, and then do the action on the card, whether it's place a worker, take back a worker, or, take a card, or advance the spot, whatever the case is. It's so sleek, it's so elegant, but it's so tight. It really replicates more players being out there, and, they're doing things. And then scoring for them is as easy as it was in Welcome to the Moon, in that they're going to score points, based on what they've collected. But you don't have to go through every card like you do for players and like score the scoring cards and score this and that for icons and stuff. You're just counting how many villager cards did they get. Okay, cool, 3 points each, or whatever the case is. How many water cards did they get? How many land cards did they get? How many space cards did they get? How many in-game scoring cards did they get? And that's it, along with the points icons that they collected for their board. That's really all you're doing for them, and for you, you're playing the game against an opponent who's going to do pretty much the same things any opponent is going to do. It's so great how they were able to replicate a bunch of strategy into a simple and fast playing AI. So kudos to Sam and Shim, whoever primarily designed the solo mode. I'm not sure, but it's so good. I believe this was nominated for the Dice Tower Solo of the Year as well. It really is outstanding, and I've enjoyed playing it. I struggle against it. I don't think I won any of them, but I've had fun playing. It's a long, thinky Euro, and the solo mode is probably better than the 2-player game, I think, from what I've read, because I guess what I've been seeing with the 2-player game is there's not as much card movement as there is in a 3 and 4-player game, and in the solo game that also keeps the cards moving. So it's good. It's a good solo, but not as good as my number 1, and that is Final Girl. Still my favorite solo game ever. And primarily, I stuck to the season 2 that I just got a few months ago. Season 3 is coming to Kickstarter later this year, so so much to do, so little time. I love Final Girl. I love the Final Girl trope, the horror theme, making action decisions and then hoping the dice roll. And this is where the randomness, I don't know, it doesn't bother me. There's a little bit of mitigation, but I don't know. I guess it feels on theme to just fail. If you're a Final Girl in a horror movie, there's a good chance you're going to fail. So I don't know. I buy into it in this game, and I just enjoy Final Girl a whole lot. Picking the actions, trying to free the villagers or whatever they are. The mix and match of the plots, the girls, the bad guys. There's just so much variety and so much to experience. I've got both everything for both seasons that are out so far. So the mix and match potential is exponential, and when season 3 comes, it's going to be in the thousands of different possible combinations of play, and it's crazy. It's such a good game. I wish I was more eloquent in speaking it up. Check out my pictures. Check out other reviews. I don't know what to tell you. Final Girl season 2, still great, and that's why it's my number 1 of my favorite 10x5 solo plays from the last 4 months. All right, let me know below what you've been playing, especially if you've been playing solo. What things based on these 10 games, because I enjoyed, like I said, basically all of them. Let me know what else to check out based on these, especially if they have a good solo mode. Let me know if you know of a solo mode for a game that I wouldn't have considered before. Like I said, Villainous. I didn't even consider adding this to the challenge until Allie talked up how great the solo mode was that she played. So let me know what I might have that I haven't even considered playing solo in the comments below. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and subscribe below, even though I know you already did. So don't click it again if you did, because then I'll unsubscribe you. But if you haven't subscribed for some reason, click the button. It'll subscribe you. You'll be able to see my next video coming soon. I thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.